What's going on, everybody? Welcome into our weekly or bi-weekly live show here on Vikings Now. We're going to be breaking down all the latest news and rumors around your Minnesota Vikings. And yes, you guys probably see by the title, we're going to talk about Adrian Peterson and actually talk about him possibly returning to the Minnesota Vikings. I know, a little outlandish story, but apparently AP wants back in the NFL. But while we let everybody kind of roll on in here, just give me a skull down in the comments section, and I'll give you guys a shout out. Yeah, no, we're going to be talking about Adrian Peterson on today's show. I did not think at all this summer or during the offseason that I would actually be talking about Adrian Peterson possibly coming back to the Minnesota Vikings, but he said he wants to play some football. So get down there, give me a skull down in the comments section, and we'll give you guys a shout out. We'll also be talking about some Dalton Risner. He's probably the best interior offensive lineman left on the free agent market. I think the Vikings should probably look at him. And we'll also be talking about the OTAs for the Minnesota Vikings. They did get underway the past 2 days. I got some takeaways, some standouts. We're actually talking some Jalen Nailor, who Jalen Nailor apparently has looked great in his year 2 at OTAs. But give me a skull down in the comments section. Shout out to John Doe. Shout out to Rocky in the comments. Adam Carroll saying skull, baby. John saying I'd sign him and retire him. Yeah, I hope AP retires as a Minnesota Vikings, even if we just bring him for a little, one-day contract. Who knows? But AP, he really wants to get back here and play. He wants to play in the NFL again. I got a lot of thoughts on that because I think AP might be in some need for some money, frankly. That's where I think he wants to come back. But Adam saying, would he bring a switch with him as well? Too soon? Yeah, a little bit, Adam. A little bit too soon. A little bit too soon. Purple and gold for days saying skull. Shout out to you. And then Samuel, my man Samuel. Shout out to you. He's giving a skull. But I'll toss you guys away. Would you bring back Adrian Peterson? Again, I can't believe I'm actually saying this right now. I mean, would you bring back Adrian Peterson on the Minnesota Vikings? The reason we're talking about this is he was on actually Fort Worth, Texas radio station, and he was saying that he is open to returning to the NFL and he doesn't want to retire just yet. So let me know, if it all works out, would you bring back the best running back in Minnesota Vikings history, who is currently 38 years old? I am not kidding. He is almost 40, and we are talking about this, a running back, so yes. But Adam saying 38 years old, though, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all. I am so against this idea. But I'll get into that and more. Nicholas saying hi. Hi, Nicholas. Thank you for joining us. Purple and gold for days, Minnesota Vikings podcast. Giving his N for nose as well. Yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of bringing AP back. I mean, the Vikings already have a loaded running back room. They already got to make decisions on Dalvin Cook and whether he's going to get traded or cut at that June 1st deadline. They got to figure that all out and more. But bringing in an Adrian Peterson, I don't know, man. He's 38. Larry is saying, I take AP over Cook. I know we have our thoughts on Dalvin Cook and how he's kind of fallen off a little bit this past season, but he is 100, if not 500 times better than what Adrian Peterson is right now. John Doe saying why he would bring him back. Well, listen, I mean, it would be a feel-good story to see AP back in that purple and gold, rocking the 28. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen. But let's talk about some realistic free agency news. Dalton Risner. Dalton Risner is probably the best interior offensive lineman left on the market. And the Vikings, now with the more cap space from trading Zadarius Smith, could they be looking to sign a guy like Dalton Risner? I'll ask you guys, would you sign Dalton Risner? We'll be talking about him in a little bit. Just give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass. He does play the offensive guard spot, so this will come down to, it'll be either Risner, Cleveland, or Ed Ingram at a left or right guard for the upcoming year. But let me know. Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass. Samuel talking about the AP stuff in the chat says, guess it depends on what AP has left in the tank. Samuel, the thing is, I don't really think he has much left in the tank. I mean, the man is 38. The man is 38 years old. Running backs fall off a cliff at 28 nowadays. He's 38 years old. But let me know about Dalton Risner. John Doe is saying, S, I would sign. I would love to bring in Dalton Risner. I think there's still a lot of uncertainty, especially that right guard spot. Ed Ingram, obviously, he was a rookie last year, but he was not too good. I mean, PFF graded him out very poorly every single week. So I don't know. I mean, adding a guy like Dalton Risner, I think, would add more juice to this offensive line. So I wouldn't be against it, but let me know. S for sign, P for pass. Then we'll also be getting into some OTAs, takeaways, and a lot of that has to do with the Vikings wide receiver room. So let me know. The Vikings have a top, I blank wide receiver room in the NFL. I think the Vikings have a top 5 wide receiver room. Honestly, you can make an argument for top 3. You have the best wide receiver in football in Justin Jefferson. You drafted Jordan Addison, and I think he's going to put up unreal numbers. I was honestly a little shaky about the Jordan Addison pick originally at 23 just because I did want the Vikings to go corner, and there was Deonte Banks, Joey Porter Jr. still on the board, and I wasn't really too in love with the Jordan Addison pick. But honestly, looking back on it, he is absolutely disgusting. I mean, he is going to cook other teams' second and third corners, whatever it may be, and then you got to pair that up with Hockenson, KJ Osborne, Jalen Naylor, who we'll talk about, who has apparently had a great OTAs. I think this Vikings wide receiver room, it's top 5. It could be top 3. By the end of the year, honestly, we could be talking about this as the best wide receiver room in the NFL. But let me know down in the comments section. John saying $1 million, 1-year deal max. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking AP here, it's got to be the vet min. Adam saying, side note, I have faith in Madison just like KJ Osborne. Yeah, I'm not – listen, I like Alexander Madison. I don't love him. He's kind of just one of those guys where it's just like, you know, I'm excited to see him get more touches in this upcoming year, but can he be a workhorse running back? I'm more excited to see a guy like Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangwu, or the guy we drafted, Dwayne McBride, out of UAB in the 7th round. See those guys have a little more running back by committee in the backfield, but I don't know. Let me know. John Doe saying top 3 for sure, considering we had the best wide receiver ever. Well, I mean, yeah, he's on pace to be the best wide receiver of all time. He's got damn near 5,000 yards in 3 seasons. Absolutely insane. But we are going to have a mailbag here in about probably 30, 40 minutes from now on our live show. So if you guys want to ask a question, you guys could either send in a super chat, easy way to help us support us here at Chat Sports, and you'll kind of get top priority, and I'll talk about your question for a pretty good amount of time. Or you could just use hashtag Vikings. If you got a question, whatever it may be, it could be on the Vikings, could be on free agents, trade targets, OTAs, whatever it is, let me know. Use hashtag Vikings, though. It'll help my man Tex pull the questions out into our system. So get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. John Doe, ask a question. Adam Carroll, get down there and ask him a question. Same with you, Nicholas. Expect to see a question from you 3. Curious what you guys have to say, and you guys can kind of steer the ship. Kind of got to steer the show of how we're going to do this. So use hashtag Vikings. Helps my man Tex. It pulls it to a software. So get those questions in there. Whatever it may be, whatever you want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Obviously got a lot around Dalvin Cook still going. The Justin Jefferson extension. Whatever it is, get those questions in there. Hashtag Vikings. And hey, if you guys want the show to start, we got a ton to talk about. We're going to be talking about Dalton Risner. We're going to be talking about Adrian Peterson. We're going to be talking about Justin Jefferson on our first show today. So if you guys want the show to start, like today's video. It's only going to help us push it out to more and more Vikings fans. We got 10 likes so far. Can we get to 20 likes before we get going here? Free, easy way. Go down there, like the video. Quick and easy. Helps us out here a ton. Pushes it out to more and more Vikings fans. So if you guys want the show to start, like today's video. Helps us out. Shout out to everybody who's already liked it so far. But Tex, if you're ready to go, I think we can jump on into this. So we're going to be talking about the Dalton Risner, whether the Vikings should sign him, if they should bring back Adrian Peterson, and then also some Justin Jefferson extension talk. Anyways, like the video if you guys haven't already, but Tex, let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome into Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. And coming up, we are going to be talking about possibly signing Dalton Risner in NFL free agency. The Vikings opened up some more cap space, a little bit more cap space after trading Zadarius Smith. And then we're going to be talking about bringing back Adrian Peterson because AP had some comments about returning to the NFL. So obviously, as the Vikings being his most prominent team, we're going to talk about reuniting Adrian Peterson with the Minnesota Vikings. And we're also going to round out today's show. We're talking about Justin Jefferson because he is supposed to get extended this summer, or at least I hope he is. So we're going to be talking about what those figures could look like and actually how much per year number 18 could make. But before we get into all that and more, if you guys want the Vikings, or if you guys think the Vikings will win the NFC North again, like today's video, you know, there's a lot of talk about the Lions. Even the Bears are getting some love to win the NFC North. I'm just not really buying into all that hype. If you think the Vikings are going to repeat as NFC North champs, show them some love, show the channel some love, and go down there and like today's video. Now let's talk about it. The first segment on today's show, should the Vikings sign Dalton Risner? If you guys don't know, he's an interior offensive lineman from the Denver Broncos, and he's probably the best interior offensive lineman left in free agency. And the Vikings do have some uncertainty at the interior offensive line position. Obviously, Garrett Bradbury, Ed Ingram, and Ezra Cleveland, they've been just okay the past couple years, but by no means have they solidified themselves as starters on this offensive line. A Vikings beat reporter, Dustin Baker, had this to say about the Vikings possibly signing Dalton Risner. He said, "Why would the Vikings sign an offensive guard, as they seem pretty well set in the trenches? Simple. Improvement and depth. Left guard Ezra Cleveland's contract expires at the end of the 2023 season, and it is unclear if Minnesota is dying to have him back beyond his rookie deal." I think that's a fair point. On the right side, at guard, Ed Ingram fired up a topsy-turvy rookie season, succumbing to gave some poor performance early in the season before starting to right the ship down the stretch, which I agree. Ed Ingram, he was very up and down during his rookie year. But if we want to take a look at Risner PFF grades, to kind of just see how he's graded out over the past couple of seasons. In P, in parentheses, that is his pass blocking grade, and R is his run blocking grade. We got it from 2019 to 2020. So in 2019, he was pretty solid all across the board. I mean, 69.8 from the interior of the offensive line as a pass blocker, pretty good. But we have seen the inconsistency with Risner. We have seen the ups and downs. And he is just an overall solid interior offensive lineman. He's no Quentin Nelson. He's not by any means an all-pro or Pro Bowl level offensive guard. But I do think he would add really solid depth to this Vikings offensive line. Like I said, Ed Ingram, he kind of had a roller coaster rookie year. I mean, I remember he was terrible for the first 8 weeks. And then he started to play good. And then you had a game where he was bad again. I mean, Ed Ingram, it would be a good game, it would be a great game, then it would be a bad game, then it would be an awful game. I mean, you really did not know what you were going to get from Ed Ingram on any given week. And then Ezra Cleveland, obviously he's on his last year of his deal, and he hasn't really been living up to that second-round hype out of Boise State. Obviously he was a left tackle, then he transitioned into playing left guard in the NFL. But Ezra Cleveland, I mean, he's another guy where you're like, I like him, but I don't really love him. So honestly, Dalton Risner, will he start for the Vikings week 1? I'm not sure if they would sign him, but I do think he would be a fun guy to bring in, and just he would just be a good depth piece, and I think he would just solidify this offensive line a little more. But I'll toss it your guys' way. Let me know. Would you sign Dalton Risner with the Vikings having just a little more money left in this year's cap space with after the Zadarius Smith trade? Give me an S for sign or give me a P for pass. This will be the pinned comment on today's video. So if YouTube throws an ad break your way, sit back, let it play, and go down and answer today's pinned comment. I would sign him. I would bring in Dalton Risner. I just think the Vikings do need more depth, like I was saying, at the interior of their offensive line. This has been the problem with the Vikings offensive line in years past. You have Darisaw, you have O'Neal, you have your tackles of the future, but let's figure it out in the middle. And like I was saying, Ingram and Cleveland, they've been inconsistent. They just really haven't been living up to their, second-round hype. They're both second-round picks, obviously in different draft classes, but they really haven't been living up to it. So adding a veteran piece, adding a veteran presence in a Dalton Risner would have had more competition, and overall, I think it would be a positive. And honestly, if I had to pick between Ed Ingram, Dalton Risner starting at right guard, I'd go Dalton Risner any day of the week. All right, guys, this is it. We're going to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Adrian Peterson bringing him back to the Minnesota Vikings. So there was a report that came out, and AP hasn't mentally hung it up and is open for an opportunity to return to the NFL. I'll say this first off. He is not coming back with the Minnesota Vikings. I'm just going to say that right away. I would not bring AP back for the Minnesota Vikings. I think it would be fun. Obviously, he would look good, in the purple and gold again, rocking that 28. But his fit with the Vikings, this running back room is just too loaded. But I want to take a trip down memory lane. I think this would be fun to kind of explore the possibility and just figure out what's really going on with Adrian Peterson right now. Because, hey, he was probably my favorite Vikings player of all time. I mean, he was the guy that made me fall in love with the purple and gold, watching him just terrorize teams in the late 2000s and early 2010s. He is really one of the best running backs of all time. But this is what the quote that Adrian Peterson said that kind of sparked all the Adrian Peterson rumors. He said, "We will see what happens. My mindset is, if God's willing, maybe an opportunity presents itself, and maybe it happens this season. But nothing happens this season for sure. I will be hanging it up." So pretty much saying if the opportunity presents itself, he's all in, and he wants to come back. but if no team reaches out, I think AP will retire. I got some thoughts on this and more coming up in a second, but I'll ask you guys, would you bring back Adrian Peterson? Obviously, we have questions around Dalvin Cook, but just bringing back AP, if you're the GM, if you're Kwesi and the AP comes up to you and says, hey, I'll accept a 1-year, $1 million deal. Just bring me back in the purple and gold. I'll retire here after a season. Let me know. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Number one reason why I would say no to this is he's 38 years old. Yeah, he is 38 years old. We have seen running backs in the NFL hit a huge dip at 28, and this dude is 38 years old. And I don't want this to kind of discredit what AP has done in his career because, again, he is one of the best running backs of all time. And I will say his MVP year is legitimately one of the best years in NFL history. He was coming off a torn ACL, and he was just 9 yards away from breaking the single-season rushing record. I mean, look at these stats on screen right now. He's got over 3,000 carries in his career, just under 15,000 yards. Obviously, he wasn't the best dual threat back, but still got up to 300 catches and had 126 touchdowns. Now, be asking, why would AP even want to come back? I think there's a couple reasons. One, I think he could be record chasing. So right now, AP is 5th in NFL history with, like we just said, 14,918 rushing yards, and he trails Barry Sanders by just 351 yards for 4th place on that list. So AP, knowing the competitive guy he is, he could just be chasing Barry Sanders' record where he could be looking back and be like, you know what, I'm 5th all-time in rushing. I could go run for 400 yards this year. Let me get up to 4th all-time on the all-time rushing leaders list. That could be AP. But I do want to talk about this. It could also be a money thing with Adrian Peterson. Obviously, you've heard the stories. Listen, the guy's made over $100 million just off contracts in the NFL. We have heard the stories that he was let's just say he was a overspender with his money, and he may be running out of his pockets, maybe getting a little thin. We obviously just saw him fight Le'Veon Bell in a boxing match earlier this summer, and now he's talking about returning to the NFL. Could AP just need maybe an extra $1 million? I don't know. Whether it's money or whether it's him wanting to chase Barry Sanders for 4th all-time, I'm just kind of out on bringing Adrian Peterson back. But let's talk about Jefferson, the current best player on the Minnesota Vikings. There was a report that came out that said the Vikings intend to extend Justin Jefferson this summer. I sure hope they are. I mean, this dude has had the best start for a wide receiver in NFL history. He is just under 5,000 yards, and he truly is one of the more fun players to watch nowadays in the NFL. And I swear if the Vikings, they just handle it right. Like, you're going to pay him no matter what. Honestly, I'll be okay with just handing him a blank check and saying, you fill it out, we'll adjust for you, because you're the best player on the football team. And this past season, he got it done, man. I mean, 1,800 yards. 1,800 yards from the wide receiver spot. And he also sat out the last game of the year, which just even says more about him. But just over 14 yards per catch, 8 touchdowns, 128 receptions, and he was really the catalyst. He was really the reason why this Vikings offense got going last year. He was absolutely fantastic every single game. But I hopped up, and I cooked up a little Justin Jefferson contract projection. I decided to give him 4 years for $140 million, which is $35 million per year with $120 guaranteed. I understand this is a ton of money. And this will make him easily the highest paid wide receiver in the league. Right now, it's Tyreek Hill at around $30 million a year. And I understand this is an egregious contract, but hey, this is a special contract for a special player, and that's Justin Jefferson. I'll ask you guys, would you offer this to Justin Jefferson? If you were a GM, if you were Kwesi, and you were sitting down with Jefferson and his agent, and they said, we want at least $35 million a year for 4 years, this is the contract that you offer him, $120 guaranteed. Give me a 1 for yes or give me a 2 for no. I understand this is a massive contract for a wide receiver, but I just think this guy is this good. And honestly, I'd be okay with paying the guy $35 million. I'm hoping it's around 32, hoping it's around $33 million a year. But you guys let me know. Give me a 1 for yes or give me a 2 for no in the comments section. And guys, thank you guys so much for watching today's show. If you guys made it this far in the video, give me a skull down in the comments section. Talked about AP, talked about Dalton Risner, and then we talked about Justin Jefferson getting extended. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Go down in the comments. Give me a skull if you guys are a real one. And as always, Skull Vikes. All right, guys, let me know. Would you bring back Adrian Peterson? As we get a lot of ones coming in the chat right now. I see John Doe, Munkus, Julian Van Lanker, he's saying, so you guys would all pay Jefferson $35 million a year. See, I thought, honestly, when I was going to look at the chat right now, I thought it would see a lot of twos. I thought you guys would be saying that's a lot of money for the wide receiver position. Yeah, I don't know. So you guys are saying, yeah, you would pay Jefferson $35 million a year. Honestly, he's worth it. I mean, he's worth every penny of that. Like, it's just, again, how much, like, the whole thing with Jefferson is kind of like, I think he's got a blank check type of contract offer from the Vikings where it's like, hey, if you want $40 million a year, you can have it. Please don't, though. Like, I feel like that's kind of where they are. But I don't know. It makes me feel better that you guys would actually pay him $35 million as well. I thought I was being a little aggressive. I thought you guys would maybe seeing like, no way. But Munkus is saying yes for one day to retire. Yeah, Adrian Peterson, I don't know, guys. I mean, it could be a record thing. It could be a money thing. I don't know. What do you guys think also? I mean, do you guys think AP maybe doesn't really have too much money left in the bank? Or do you think maybe he's chasing Barry Sanders' record? I don't know. Let me know. Get down in the comment section and let me know. And then, guys, we are going to have a mailbag coming up soon. I need you guys to ask a question. John Doe, Munkus, Kissy, Julian, any question you guys have, hashtag Vikings, get them in the comment section right now. You guys will kind of steer the ship. We have a mailbag that will be going down here in about 20 minutes. You'll be put up on screen right next to me, and I'll answer your guys' questions. But coming up here in a second, we're going to actually talk about Vikings OTAs. OTAs got going the past couple days. There have been some standout players. So get those questions in there. Use hashtag Vikings, or you could always just send in a super chat to help support the show. I'm calling you out, David, John Doe, Munkus, Kissy. Get a question in there, whatever you guys want to talk about. How much do you think Jefferson will get extended? Do you think Dalvin Cook will be traded? Just make sure you guys use hashtag Vikings and get those questions in there. We'll be sure to answer it live on air for you guys. And you guys will also be re-uploaded up on the channel as a whole other cut. But we know, get the questions in there right now. Tex, we can just jump right into it. If you're ready to go. I'm excited to talk about this, guys. It's takeaways from Vikings OTAs. We actually have some real football to talk about right now. So it's going to be fun. Tons of things to kind of dive into on this. We're going to be talking about Jalen Nailor and everything. So it's going to be fun. John Doe, I see you. I appreciate that. Thank you guys for asking a question. Yep, seeing them right now. Good questions too, John. I'm excited to actually talk about that. So appreciate it. You're the man. But if Tex is ready, we're going to talk about OTAs. Vikings OTAs. We got real football. I'm excited. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome into Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Siepman. And on today's show, we're going to be doing some takeaways and just some overall notes from the Vikings OTA periods. I'm excited to talk about this because we got real football. It's, finally we're kind of done of this, like, should the Vikings trade for this guy? Should the Vikings sign this guy? No, we got real football. We got real analysis, and we're going to actually be breaking it down. So I'm super excited to jump on into this. But, guys, we got an updated look at our sub-battle from this week. So we challenged our Lions channel. The Lions channel had the early lead. I think this originally was, if you guys saw the video a couple days ago, it was like 62 to like 24 or something. You guys showed up. You guys helped us out, but let's finish the deal. We got a 7-sub lead right now. Let's put them in the dirt. There is all this talk about the Lions being the team that is going to win the NFC North. Let's show them that the Vikings channel and the Vikings team, we're the real ones. We're the real team in the NFC North. Help me out. Hit that sub button. Takeaway number 1. My man, Jalen Nailor, he has apparently looked great over the first couple of days. Obviously, Justin Jefferson hasn't really been there. He's sitting out. I want to say he's sitting out. He's just not going to OTAs, voluntary OTAs. I don't care. Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the NFL. He can do what he wants. But apparently, Jalen Nailor, I've seen some of the highlights on Twitter. He has made some ridiculous catches. He looks fluid. He looks smooth coming in and out of routes. I don't know. I'm just excited to see what he's going to do this next season. But this is what Will Regetz, a Vikings beat reporter for Sports Illustrated, had to say about the second-year wide receiver. He said, second-year wide receiver Jalen Nailor was the standout of the team, period. With no Jefferson or Addison, he got plenty of reps alongside KJ Osborne with the first-team offense. Nailor easily led the team in catches during those periods, including a nice grab on an intermediate in-breaking route in 11s. Kirk Cousins rifled the ball into a small window, and Nailor came down with a difficult snag. I saw this play on Twitter. It was an absolute dart by Kirk Cousins. And Jalen Nailor, strong hands. He brought it in, Jalen Nailor was absolutely great. Wide receiver depth chart looking like this right now. You obviously got the best wide receiver in the league, Justin Jefferson. Stud, don't want to hear it. Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, they can't hold him. 18, he's the best wide receiver in the league. Like I was saying, Jordan Addison, I'm excited to see what he's got to do. And then KJ Osborne. Honestly, those three, I think that might be the best trio in the league. And this Vikings wide receiver room, man, it's dangerous. I mean, you legitimately have 4 wide receivers that I feel comfortable with. Like, legitimately 4 wide receivers. Like I said, Jefferson, best wide receiver in the league. Jordan Addison, best rookie wide receiver in the league. KJ Osborne, I think you can make an argument, besides Tyler Boyd out of Cincinnati, probably the best wide receiver 3 in the league. And then the fact that Jalen Nailor is your wide receiver 4, who I'm so excited to watch him play because, hey, he popped at the end of last season. I think he's just a guy who's going to keep on working. Then once he finally gets his chance, anticipate the breakout for Jalen Nailor. But guys, be honest with me here. The Vikings have a top blank wide receiver room in the NFL. I was saying a little bit earlier, I think it's for sure a top 5. I would probably go top 3. Honestly, by the end of this year, I think it's going to be top 1. And I think a big reason for that is going to be because of Jordan Addison. And you guys can get his jersey now at chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. The number 1 you see on your screen right now, it's just a placeholder. He is going to be wearing number 3 for the Minnesota Vikings, and he looks great in that number 3. If you guys want a cool little jersey to get the rock at US Bank Stadium on game days or wherever it is, you could be watching on your own couch, make sure you're rocking that Jordan Addison jersey. Go get your own at chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Takeaway number 2, the Oliver and Hockenson show. Josh Oliver, the tight end we stole from the Baltimore Ravens this offseason. He's one of the best run-blocking tight ends in the league, if not the best run-blocking tight end. Then obviously the T.J. Hockenson, the 2 tight end sets that Kevin O'Connell is going to be able to run this year. It's going to be dangerous. He's going to be able to hop in his bag, and I think it's going to open up so much more for even a guy like Justin Jefferson. You're able to pull the safeties down more. The offense is going to be more explosive. I'm just excited about it, but this is what Will Regetz had to say again. He was actually at Vikings OTAs. That's why we're going to a lot of his takes and a lot of his quotes here. So he said tight ends, T.J. Hockenson and Josh Oliver were both in action. And Oliver made a nice catch for a big gain up the seam. He's primarily known as a great blocker, but he may have some untapped potential as a pass catcher, which is great to know because if we're looking at the Vikings 12 personnel for next season, honestly, I can say this without looking at other teams' 12 personnel, the Vikings have the best one in the league. Like, you legit have a top 5 tight end in T.J. Hockenson. You have the best run-blocking tight end in Josh Oliver. Dalvin Cook, obviously taking a step back, still a top 12 running back in the NFL. He probably got one of the best 2 wide receiver tandems in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. I mean, if you're an opposing team's defense and you're looking at this kind of on film and on tape heading into the week, and you see Jefferson, Addison, Cook, Hockenson, and Oliver, it's a scary sight to see. Now we can look at their 22 personnel here, which takes out the wide receiver and puts in another running back. This is going to be on early downs where the Vikings are trying to establish the run. I mean, could you imagine Jefferson, Ham, Cook, Hockenson, Josh Oliver? I mean, overall, this run game for the Minnesota Vikings should improve so much from last season. That was the one thing I liked what this Vikings offense did in year 1 under Kevin O'Connell. But again, I just felt like this offense was missing something. It was missing that extra gear, and I think that was the run game. I really do. I mean, we can take a look at their stats right now. I mean, they were 28th in the league in rushing yards per game last year. I mean, that's not good. I mean, think about this as the Vikings as a whole. One of the worst defenses in the league statistically. One of the worst rushing attacks in the league statistically. And they went 13-4. Like, this should speak to the talent on the rest of the team. So, I don't know. That's why I'm excited to see Josh Oliver, T.J. Hockenson, and these 2 tight end sets. Because you guys remember last year it was T.J. Hockenson. Obviously, with Irv Smith being out most of the year, it was kind of Johnny Munt, Ben Ellison. But now we legitimately have 2 tight ends that I think are going to work very, very well together. Obviously, T.J. being the more pure pass catcher tight end, and then Josh Oliver being the more pure blocking tight end, with also Will Regetz saying he does have that untapped pass catching ability. I'm super excited about it. But again, if we can improve this run game right here, get this to top 10, I think we're going to see all of the rest of them in the top 5. Anyways, I'm excited to see this little tight end personnel groupings, how they're going to shake out next season. But number 3, takeaway from OTAs, the safeties. The safeties, very similar to how I talk about the tight end group. I'm just excited to see them play football in this upcoming year. You obviously got Lewis Cine, Harrison Smith, Cam Bynum, and even a guy like Josh Metellus. I think they're all going to get a ton of run in this upcoming season. I just can't wait to see him play. And obviously, huge little injury news here. Lewis Cine, he obviously was coming off that compound fracture in his left leg in London last season. Apparently, he damn near looks 100%, which is great. Shout out to Lewis Cine, showing some love in the comment section. This is what Will Regetz had to say on Lewis Cine and just the safeties as a whole. He said the absence of numerous key players created opportunities for others to get significant reps. He first starts out talking with the offensive line. With the first team units, Oliuta was in for O'Neal at right tackle. Cam Bynum and Lewis Cine were the first team safeties. And there was also a look where Brian Flores had those two and Josh Metellus all on the field at once. I'm excited because you know what that means? We could have potentially Harrison Smith, Lewis Cine, and Cam Bynum all on the field at the same time. I'm excited to see it. But Lewis Cine, he's going to have a big year for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, it's just cut and dry. Like, he is going to need to have a big year. We got, the 4 second-year guys that were dealing with injuries last season, Cine, Asamoah, Evans, and Booth. Those 4 are going to need to step up if this defense wants to kind of take that next level. And I will say this, maybe Cam Bynum. Obviously, Cam Bynum played corner at the University of Colorado, and then the Vikings transitioned him into safety. But now with the Vikings having Lewis Cine, Metellus, and Harrison Smith, I'm just going to throw this out there. Maybe Cam Bynum goes back to corner. Or maybe if you are running those three safety sets where you have Lewis Cine and Harrison Smith over the top, maybe you could slip Cam Bynum into slot corner, have him play some nickel, and then Lewis Cine and Harry, they can both be box safeties. Like, I don't know. I just think Brian Flores, with the creative mind he is and the amount of versatile players that the Vikings have on this defense, I think this defense is going to take a huge step up. Because, guys, if we remember, they were damn near last in every statistical category last season. But with Brian Flores, we pretty much have 2 head coaches on this roster now with Flores and O'Connell. I'm just excited to see them play. Let Brian Flores hop in his bag. Let him cook up some creative defensive packages. I'm just excited to see it. But I ask you guys, will the Vikings be a top 15 defense in 2023? Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no. Guys, this just being a top half defense. We were literally one of the worst last year. Let's just hop into that top half, and I think this team could win a lot of games. I do think this defense is going to bounce back, though. I think just with the hiring of Brian Flores, you're getting a ton of guys healthy like a Lewis Cine, Evans, Asamoah, and Booth all back. You bring in a Byron Murphy. You bring in a Marcus Davenport. You move off of the older, slower players into Darius Smith and Eric Kendricks. I am so excited. Yes, I'm excited to see Kevin O'Connell's offense in year 2. But if there's one, image in my head that I just can't wait to watch, it's going to be week 1, Tampa Bay Buccaneers in US Bank Stadium. The Vikings kick the ball off, and they're on defense first. I just can't wait for it. I think the defense, it's going to bounce back. I think Daniil Hunter also going to have another huge bounce back year. But anyways, guys, if you guys aren't subscribed yet to the channel, make sure you do so. We are in that sub battle with our Lions channel. So if you guys want to help us out, kind of take the reins of the NFC North a little bit, help us out, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes. Let me know, will the Vikings be a top 15 defense in the NFL? We got Dan Henneman saying N for no. Rocky saying N for no. Rocky, you're just hating. You're just hating on the Vikings defense. Mr. Nelson saying Y for yes. Julian saying Y for yes. DOD giving me a Y. John Doe saying no again. Kissy Shining saying Y for yes. Julian saying I can't wait either. Yeah, me too. Julian, I'm just super excited. If there's one position group I really can't wait to watch play, it really is that. It really is that. That defensive side of the football, I just can't wait to see them kind of get after it. So I'm excited about that. Tex, you actually want to do me a solid and grab my charger off my desk real quick? Yeah, laptop charger. Yeah, thank you so much. My laptop's about to die. Yeah, you guys see a little behind the scenes. Shout out to Tex, though. Show Tex some love in the chat. Spam Tex in there. He's doing a great job behind the scenes right now. He's kind of making this whole show go. All this graphics you see on screen, it's all him. He's killing it. So shout out to him. 15 to 20 would be great improvement. Yeah, Dan, that's the thing about this Vikings team is just if you just get anything out of this defense next year, you should be a playoff team. I expect the offense to be a little better. You get Kirk Cousins. Finally, he gets back-to-back years of having the same play caller. And then also, This year 2 in Kevin O'Connor's offense for everybody, I think it will be just a huge addition to the team. So I don't know. I think if the Vikings defense is top 15 in the league this year, I think the Vikings have a chance to legitimately, obviously win the NFC North, but then win a ton of games. Kissy saying, agreed, let's get to work, boys. Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm super excited to get this season underway because I do feel like the Vikings are getting disrespected. I don't know. It could just be me, but you guys let me know as well. Like, I honestly feel like the Vikings are getting disrespected because everybody, it's kind of that chalk media answer. And I got some of the guys in the Chat Sports office. They say it too. Oh, the Vikings, they won 11 one-score games last year. There's no way they're going to do that again. They're going to revert back. All right, fine. Let's just say the Vikings win. Let's just say they go 7-4 in those games. They're still winning 9 games. And that's with them staying the exact same on the defensive side of football. I don't know. I honestly just think it's chalk. Like, I hate that take where it's just like, oh, they're going to revert back to the mean. No, how about this? You look on the positive side of this, Kirk Cousins led the NFL in fourth quarter comebacks, fourth quarter game-winning drives. He was awesome in the clutch last season. Honestly, it just pisses me off. And I'm starting to ramble right now. And I'm starting to rant a little bit, and I'm getting fired up because I'm excited to see this team play. Because like Julian's saying, we get no love. The Vikings get no love. It's Kirk Cousins. It's Minnesota. It's boring to the national media. You know what? We're going to prove a lot of people wrong this next season. But, guys, we do have a Q&A coming up here in a second. This is the last call. So, Julian, Kissy, get those questions in there. I want to talk to you guys about our Minnesota Vikings. So, help us out there. Or you guys could also send in a super chat. There's a little dollar icon down there. It's a great way to kind of help us here at Chat Sports. All the lights you see on in the studio, the headset, whatever it may be, it all, you guys can help contribute to it and kind of help keep the lights on here. So, if you guys want to send a super chat, if you guys have any extra kind of takes or thoughts you guys want to send in, send those in. It will get top priority. We'll answer it first and foremost. But whatever it is about the Minnesota Vikings, you could just say rant about the Vikings getting disrespected. Just use hashtag Vikings for we can pull it to our software. But again, I am getting a little pissed off that the Vikings are getting disrespected. Julian saying, has JJ and JA worked out together yet? I am not sure. I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen any photos of that. But man, let me tell you something, Julian. The NFL isn't ready. Like, I really don't think the NFL is ready. Like, those two, like, you know how we went from Thielen and Diggs to Thielen and Jefferson, and I always kind of had that thought in the back of my head. I was like, God, what if, like, we had Jefferson and Diggs at the same time? That's what's going to happen. Like, Jordan Addison, I hate giving this comp, but his comp is, honestly, it's Stephon Diggs. Like, Jordan Addison, the way he moves and everything, like, how smooth he is in and out of routes. Like, he reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs, that Calvin Ridley, that Tyler Lockett, Emmanuel Sanders, just smooth, pure route runners. I'm excited to see those two play together, man, because especially they're both super interchangeable. They're super versatile. Like, Addison, his junior year of college, he ran most of his stuff out on the wide, like the X spot. And then his senior year at USC, he was out of the slot. Like, and then the same thing with Jefferson. Jefferson at LSU, 98% of his snaps came at the slot. I don't know. As we did get a $20 super chat from Rocky. Rocky, we appreciate it. Rocky says Cousins gets no respect. Rocky, I agree with you, man. I absolutely agree with you. Cousins does get no respect. Cousins, I think it's the 4th and 8 check down. I think it's the 4th and 8 check down that gets everybody so triggered over Kirk Cousins, because it does kind of embody who he's kind of been in his NFL career. Because you think about it, man, like he played well that entire Giants playoff game. Like, I think he ended up 31 of 39 for just over 300 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and then he throws a check down on 4th and 8, and that's all anybody can think about. But Rocky, we appreciate it. Cousins gets no respect. Thank you so much. It's just not pulling. That's weird. Did you have the right stream key in? Like, did you click the title and everything? Any chance? Yeah. Are the questions pulling, at least? Questions ain't pulling? Yeah, you got it. But, Rocky, we appreciate it. Guys, last chance to get questions in for the mailbag. We really do appreciate the support here on the channel. Has the biggest comeback in NFL history, though. Yeah, John, he does. I mean, yeah, that's the thing also with Kirk. Like, see, the thing is, like, could you imagine? Here, I'll go on my little Kirk Cousins rant here about him getting absolutely no respect. The Vikings, worst defense in the league last year. Like, legitimately, you could make the argument, worst defense in the league. They won 13 games. He had the most fourth-quarter comebacks in the NFL last season, and he gets no respect. And you know what I think it is? I think it's just because he's that, like, typical boring, white dad. He tucks his shirt into his sweatpants. I don't know if you guys saw that video of him talking at the podium. He literally tucked his, polo into his sweatpants, and the new helmet he's got going on. He's got this big forehead going. Like, Kirk, he's just that typical kind of corny little looking quarterback, and I think that contributes to him kind of getting no respect in the NFL. Carl in the chat saying hi from New Zealand. It doesn't matter to me if they win or lose as long as they put in 100%. If they win, though, it's a bonus. Cheers. The thing is, I love effort. I am all here for effort, but I also want the Vikings to win. I get what you're saying, but yeah, appreciate it, Carl. Thanks for tuning in. GM Evan Hinder saying, should Minnesota bring in Quan Alexander for a workout? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that. I do want to see, though, however, I don't want the Vikings to bring in another linebacker because I do want Brian Asamoah to get most of the reps. I want Brian Asamoah to be the one that's kind of steering the linebacker spot because I honestly think he's got all-pro potential. I mean, he's unreal fast out of Oklahoma, and I do think he's got a great chance to really make a name for himself in the NFL. Julian saying, I know I live in Oregon, and everybody hates on Kirk. Yeah, it's just kind of what it is. It's kind of fun, or it's kind of the norm for these media guys to just not give Kirk any respect. I saw something with some dude listing the top quarterbacks in the NFC, and because obviously the NFC quarterbacks aren't nearly as good as the AFC, and it had Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, Goff. They got to Stafford, and then it went down to three other names. Then it finally got to Kirk Cousins. Yeah. Okay, so we had a little mishap going on behind the scenes here. So if you guys did get a question in earlier, I'm going to ask you to just ask it again. #Vikings. Get them in the chat right now. Easy way to help us out here. You guys kind of get to steer the ship. We'll get a graphic up right on screen next to me where you guys can ask your questions, whatever it may be about the Minnesota Vikings. We could just have this be a Kirk Cousins rant sesh about how he gets disrespected. We could talk about the defense, OTAs, a player you want the Vikings to trade for, a player you want the Vikings to sign. We could even talk about Adrian Peterson again and what he's got going on. But again, use #Vikings again. Quick, easy way to help us out. Like GM Evan Hinders did. I keep hearing a lot about the boys about Jaren Hall. Yes, I love it. We can definitely talk about that. We'll get to that there. Is he going to be the one that takes over next year? Yeah, there's a lot going on at the Vikings quarterback spot. Obviously, Kirk has one more year on his deal, and then he's most likely going to be gone. So could Jaren Hall kind of be that next kind of successor for Kirk Cousins? I don't know. I hope so. I've been a big fan of what I've seen from Jaren Hall so far out of OTAs and rookie minicamp and everything. So I am excited. I think that'll be a ton of fun to kind of see what Jaren Hall has to offer. Dan saying Rodney Dangerfield gets no respect. Kirk is a good quarterback that comes up short in big moments. It's who he is. Yeah, I agree, Dan. I mean, Kirk's one of those guys where it's if it's noon on a Sunday, not a primetime game, just a regular season game, and it's noon on a Sunday, I legitimately think Kirk is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If it's a noon on a Sunday game, Kirk, there's probably not 5 other quarterbacks I'd rather have in those moments. But again, it's those primetime games. It's those big playoff games where we see Kirk just kind of leave it a little short. Dan, shout out to you. #Vikings saying Saul Dalton Risner. We're all ready to go? All right, sweet. Sweet. Shout out to you guys. Thanks for everybody who's getting those questions in there. We'll get into a mailbag here shortly. If you have questions that come to your mind while we're actually in the middle of this mailbag, still send them in there. We could talk about it a little more or after, whatever it is. Or you guys can always just send in a super chat like Rocky did, helping support the show. So we really do appreciate it here on Vikings Now. Just get those questions in there. Purple and Gold saying Kirk is a good to very good QB that has a ceiling of divisional round of the playoffs. Yes, he keeps you from ever being the team less than 7 wins. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, Kirk's the definition of a purgatory quarterback where it's you're never going to be bad enough to get a top 10 pick, but you're never going to be good enough to kind of reach that Super Bowl. That's why the Kirk Cousins debate is just very, very interesting. But, Tex, if you're all ready to go, we can hop into this Minnesota Vikings mailbag where I answer questions from you guys. So get them in there, whatever they may be. Ask them. Just make sure you use hashtag Vikings, and it will kind of help our software pull your questions. Let's get into it. What's going on, guys? Welcome into Minnesota Vikings Now. I'll be your host for today's mailbag, Patrick Siepman. And on today's show, obviously, like I just said, it is a mailbag where I take questions live from you guys during our bi-weekly live shows that go live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys haven't already, make sure you guys check it out. But we did get a super chat from my main man, Rocky, and he said Cousins gets zero respect. This is kind of the conversation we had going during our live show. Just talking about Kirk Cousins and just how we all kind of collectively feel as Vikings fans that he is a disrespected player. And I will say this on the Kirk Cousins getting disrespected kind of narrative that's out there is if there was another quarterback in the NFL, let's take the Vikings season last year. The Vikings were damn near last in every defensive statistical category. He led the lead in game-winning touchdown drives. He led the team to the playoffs. I'm telling you, if that was Deshaun Watson, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, whoever it may be, people would be talking about that year still. But nobody's talking about what Kirk did last year. 30 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, just an overall good year. But you know what people are going to talk about and what people are going to remember? It's the 4th and 8 check down. It's just that whole debate with Kirk. Is he good? Is he great? Kind of falls. I just think he might just be good. But Rocky, we appreciate it. I do agree. I don't think Cousins gets as much respect as he has probably earned. But GM Evan Hinders said, should the Minnesota Vikings bring in Kwon Alexander for a workout? So Kwon Alexander, I am a fan of his game. He may be a little cooked in terms of just what he kind of has left in the tank. But I am a huge fan of Brian Asamoah. And I wouldn't want to see the Vikings bring in somebody that could kind of stunt the growth of an Asamoah. Obviously, Asamoah, our third rounder out of Oklahoma. I think he's going to be an absolute dog in this upcoming year. I would like Kwon Alexander. I think it would be a good pickup. And maybe Brian Flores could get the most out of him because he is a pretty versatile player. And versatile players normally fit very, very well in the Brian Flores system. So I'm not sure. I mean, I would like it. Hey, more talent on that side of the football can never hurt the Minnesota Vikings. But next question coming here from Skull and Nations. He says, any update on the Patrick Queen trade rumors? Yeah, we were talking about this on the channel probably over the past 2 weeks. The Vikings were linked as a Patrick Queen trade destination. The Ravens declined his 5th-year option. And obviously the Vikings kind of having maybe not a lot of depth is a good word at the linebacker position. Again, like I said, Brian Asamoah, he's my guy. I expect him to be linebacker 1. But then besides that, it's like the Troy Readers, it's the Jordan Hicks, it's the Troy Dyes, who I'm not really that big of a fan of. Any update on the Patrick Queen trade rumors? I haven't heard much. There was another article that was put out by a Ravens beat reporter that, again, listed the Minnesota Vikings, but he had the Vikings giving up a 2nd and a 4th for Patrick Queen, which I would just say flat out no to. But the Vikings, if you could throw him a 3rd or a 4th, I'd be all in. But I'll ask you guys, would you trade for Patrick Queen? Give me a T for trade or give me a P for pass down in the comment section. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's video. So YouTube, they're going to throw you an ad break right now. Sit back, let it play, go down there, answer today's pinned comment. Purple and Gold, 4 days, a Minnesota Vikings podcast. He says, hashtag Vikings. Do you extend Hunter or take him to the market with only 1 year left? Okay, this is something I'm very passionate about. So Purple and Gold, great question. We should extend him. I hate this notion that Vikings fans I've seen it float around on Twitter about moving off of Danielle Hunter. I just completely disagree. Like, Danielle Hunter, if you forget, fastest player in NFL history with 50 sacks. And he was kind of picking it up at the end of last year because the Vikings, they went from the 4-3 to the 3-4. And if there's any position that gets affected more by the transition of a 3-4 to a 4-3 defense, it's that edge spot. And Danielle Hunter, he obviously started off slow last year, but at the tail half of last season, I saw that potential. I saw that top 10 edge. I've been a Danielle Hunter guy, honestly, since he's came out. I think he's one of the more freakiest athletes in the NFL. And if you watch his pass rushing moves, he is the most unorthodox set of pass rushing moves in his arsenal. I think he's going to have a big-time year under Flores. Hey, don't be shocked. Danielle Hunter, 15.5 sacks at least this year. You heard it here first. GM Evan Hinders, next question, says, I keep hearing a lot of boys about Jaren Hall. Is he going to be the one that takes over after Kirk Cousins next season. So Kirk Cousins, he's got 1 year left on his deal, and everybody's kind of wondering who's going to be the next Vikings quarterback. Obviously, I've had Kirk Cousins the past couple of years. We take Jaren Hall in the 6th round out of BYU. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, we're going to have to wait till preseason. Let me get my eyes on him a little more in a true NFL game. But from what I've seen from rookie minicamp, OTAs, apparently he looks great. He's got a big body. He's got a big-time arm. He's kind of got a little bit of a rubber band arm a little bit. You know how the old school guys, they make that C when they throw the football, like the Bradys and the Mannings. You see a C in my hand. Jaren Hall has got kind of that U where it's more like the Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. So he throws it from more down here. It's more of that side angle stuff, which I always think, hey, it's cool. It's more of that modern day football instead of the more old school typical U. But I'm a big fan of Jaren Hall. I think he could work out. We're just going to have to wait and see. I mean, obviously the jury's still out on him. He's only been around the Vikings for about a month now. So we'll have to see. But, man, if he could be the guy that takes over Kirk Cousins and you only had to spend a 6th-round pick on it, I'd be all in. Scully Rolly, shout out to Rolly, he said, hate to ask. It's okay. It's okay. But what's the latest with Dalvin Cook? I know. Nobody likes to talk about Dalvin Cook just because we've been talking about it so damn much. And honestly, Dalvin Cook, the update I have is I think he's going to get cut June 1st. I don't think a team is going to trade for him. Obviously, his cap hit in this upcoming year is around $12.8 million. So, again, I just don't think a team, I don't even think a team would throw you a 6th at this point. I was saying a month ago, if you could get a 4th-round pick for Dalvin Cook, take it. But the production has definitely fallen off the past couple of years. I mean, we could just look at the averages here. It has gone down by at least 0.3 since 2020. That 2020 season, Dalvin Cook was absolutely magical. I mean, over 300 carries and still averaging just over 5 yards a carry and just under 1,600 yards total on the season. Shout out to Dalvin Cook. He was fantastic that year, but it's just gone down little by little every year, and I do think this is a loaded Minnesota Vikings running back room. Obviously, Dalvin Cook slated in right now as RB1, but the guys behind him, Madison we re-signed in the NFL free agency to a 2-year, $7 million deal. Kene Wangu, he's going to make the team. He's our special teams gadget guy. Ty Chandler, our 6th-rounder or 5th-rounder out of North Carolina last year. I'm a big fan of him. You're going to have to give C.J. Ham a roster spot. He's your fullback. Then you did just spend a 7th-round pick on Dwayne McBride. I'll tell you this, the Vikings aren't going to keep, would that be 6 running backs on the roster? Teams just don't do that. Teams normally keep 4 or 5. So expect Dalvin Cook. I think he's going to be cut. They're going to create some cap space for him. Sadly, I don't think Dalvin Cook's going to be wearing that purple and gold next season. But then we did get a super chat from my man, Davey Chains. Davey, shout out to you. Always appreciate you reaching out and just kind of being a fan of the show. But he says, Hunter's been taking a lot of team-friendly deals. Very true. Great point. It's time to open up the checkbook and pay this guy what he's worth. Clap it up for Davey. He knows ball. He knows ball. Davey, I totally agree. Danielle Hunter is set to make $5 million next year. $5 million. Danielle Hunter, he's not a $5 million a year player. Davey, I agree with you. I think it is time. Pay him what he's worth. Because I do think we're talking the trajectory of Danielle Hunter. He was on a skyrocket like this. The 2 injuries brought him down here. But I think last year we saw that uptick at the later half. I think he could be hitting his peak over the next 2 to 3 seasons. Listen, this was a guy who averaged 15.5 sacks for 3 straight years. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets up to 15.5, 16, 17 sacks this year. Davey, great point. He has been making team-friendly deals. Thank you so much for your support. As always, my man. I agree with you. Pay this guy. Unload that freaking checkbook for Danielle Hunter. Dan Henneman saying, who wins the 3 starting cornerback spots? Good question, Dan. Love to hear it. All right, cornerback 1, Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy's most likely going to be cornerback 1. I would really doubt if a younger guy jumps him. I think the Vikings are expecting him to kind of be that veteran at 26 years old and kind of be the guy that kind of steers the ship at the cornerback position. Cornerback number 2, I'm going to go Booth. Obviously, I know people are a fan of a Caleb Evans. I still think it's going to be Andrew Booth. I'll go him here. I'll go Booth at 2. And then at 3, all right, so at 3, this is either going to be a Caleb Evans or Mekhi Blackman. I love both of them, and I especially love a Caleb. I'll go with Caleb Evans, and then Mekhi Blackman will be corner number 4. So I'll go Murphy, Booth, and Evans, your top 3 corners heading into next year. But don't be shocked, especially with Mekhi Blackman, especially one of those outside corner spots, if he's starting at a certain time. The greatest ever, saying, who do you think the Vikings can break out? Or who do you think can break out next season for the Minnesota Vikings? Yeah, I got one name in mind that pops in my head right away, and I've already talked about him in this video. Brian Asamoah, the linebacker out of Oklahoma. He was absolutely great last year in very limited reps. I mean, you guys remember the Giants regular season game. Daniel Bellinger, he's running a deep over. He catches the ball. He beats Brian Asamoah, but then he peanut Tillman punches the ball out. Fumble recovery by himself. I just feel like he's going to make splash plays when he has his opportunity. And that's also why I don't really want the Vikings to bring in another linebacker. He's taking into the room right now. Jordan Hicks, I'm shocked he didn't get cut. But look right under linebacker 1. Ivan Pace Jr. Ivan Pace Jr., I think, is going to be the key for the Minnesota Vikings defense. If he makes the team, the UDFA out of Cincinnati, most people had him as a top 100 player in this year's draft, and the Vikings got him as a UDFA. He's a hard hitter. Honestly, if you told me let's just go 10. By week 10, it's Brian Asamoah and Ivan Pace Jr. starting at linebacker, yeah, good luck to the rest of the NFL. But I'll toss it your guys' way. Name a player that you think that can break out next season for the Minnesota Vikings. You guys know my answer to this. It is obviously Brian Asamoah. He's been my guy. He's been kind of my baby throughout this whole process. I'm a big fan of him. So let me know. Name a player that you guys think can break out next season. And as always, guys, remember to hit that subscribe button. No matter what the news piece is, the rumors piece is, whatever it may be, we're going to keep you guys covered with all Vikings news and rumors throughout the year. So go down there, hit that subscribe button right now. Catch you guys next time. Skol Vikes. It's Icy. Matty Ice came in with a $2 super chat during the mailbag. He says, we need the trade for Patrick Queen. I get it, guy. Listen, maybe it's just me. But, and I'll ask you guys in the chat right now, for everybody still watching. Tell me Brian Asamoah and Ivan Pace Jr. wouldn't be some of the most electric linebacker play that we've seen in a while. Like, dating back to, like, when we had Kendricks and Barr, like, those two kind of being the kind of stones of the defense and kind of the backbone. If we could somehow transition to Asamoah and Ivan Pace Jr., I would absolutely love it. Davey's in the chat. Davey, thank you, by the way, tuning in. Said, Skol, why are we worried about all our backs? This team has a history of doing real well with running backs by committee. I totally agree. That's kind of where I want the Vikings to kind of shift to, is a more running back by committee type of play. Like, I do think it's like, if you could have a combination of Cook, Ty Chandler, Kene Wangu, and all the boys, I would absolutely love it. I would absolutely love it. As AP the GOAT, good question to bring up, Tex. Should we bring back Adrian Peterson? That's been the talk. Apparently, Adrian Peterson wants to come back, play some football. No, we shouldn't bring AP back unless it's for unless AP, because I don't even want to give him a roster spot, so never mind. Unless it's like AP one day you're gonna retire a Viking, which I feel like he should do. That's the only way I would bring him back. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's 38, guys. Like, he is 38 years old. Dalvin Cook's 28, and we're saying he's kind of hitting a wall. Could you imagine what AP's knees and just his body feels like? I mean, the dude's had 3,000 carries in his career. 3,000 carries. He's been hit 3,000 times in the NFL. I don't know. I'd be against it. Dan saying Patrick Jones is your breakout guy. I love Patrick Jones. I think that's a great point. I kind of sleep on him a little bit. Yeah, but Davey, we appreciate it. Just kind of looking at the chat, getting caught up right now. Kissy was saying, cut Cook, let someone else shine when Cook can't. I agree. Those are guys like Ty Chandler, Dwayne McBride at the running back spot. Kind of want to see those guys get more of the reps there. Purple and Gold saying, still got work to do. Yeah, that's all we need. Another guy with fumble issues. Yeah, AP, if you guys remember his fumbling issues, you should drive me crazy. Pace Jr. is going to have a cool story line like Thielen did, undrafted hero on defense. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad little comparison there. I mean, obviously Adam Thielen going from D2. That's why Adam Thielen, it sucks that he's not on the Vikings this year. So it kind of turned into a Vikings therapy session. But, like, Thielen's story of being a walk-on at a D2 school, begging the Vikings for them to, like, accept his tryout, and then him making the team somehow, starting off as a special teams guy and turning into one of the better wide receivers in the league. It's just awesome. Pace is totally a two-bound back. Love him pass rushing and run stopping. He is not good in pass coverage. Yeah, I mean, that was what the tape said at Cincinnati. But, man, let me tell you something, purple and gold for days. This dude can hit. Like, this dude, if I was another team's running back and I was trying to meet somebody in the hole, or if I was a running back and I saw another dude meeting me in the hole and it was Ivan Pace coming down, I would be terrified. I would be absolutely terrified. So, yeah, I agree with you. And Rocky saying Vikings desperately need some production from last year and this year's draft. I agree. I mean, the 4 guys from last year, Booth, Evans, Seen, Asamoah, didn't really get too much from them last year. Hopefully we get some more from them here. But, guys, I'm going to put on a 2-minute shot clock here, and then me and my man Tex are going to head out of here. 2 minutes on the clock. You guys send in a super chat. We'll talk about it for a little bit. But, here at Chat Sports, people want to get in the studios and use them as well. So if you guys want to keep us live, put on a shot clock here for 2 minutes. But anyways, thank you guys again. Everybody who's kind of tuned in, hung out with us today. It was great chopping it up, talking Vikings football. We are in the dog days of the NFL offseason, but it is still fun to hop on here and talk to you guys. Davey Chain saying, as a former Army veteran, Davey, I didn't know that about you. Shout out to you. All the respect in the world. We need more people like that, man. Shout out to you. But he said, I'd love to see Andre Carter make an immediate impact. So I do think Andre Carter, Davey, is going to make the roster. They gave him a contract like he's a 6th-round pick as a UDFA guy. Like, they paid him a very good amount of money. I would doubt that they would pay him that and then have him go on the practice squad and then another team could poach him. So I don't know. I do think Andre Carter will make the roster. At least if I'm reading kind of the tea leaves right with how much they paid him, I'd assume. Because I actually was looking back, funny enough, Davey, I was looking back at a mock draft from last year. So let's just say we're at this time last year looking at a mock draft for the upcoming year. They had Andre Carter as a top 15 pick. A top 15 pick, and he went undrafted. Vikings UDFA class of Pace and Andre Carter, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. But, Davey, that's awesome. I didn't know that about you, man. So shout out to you. Appreciate you as always. Appreciate everybody who's hanging out with us. We're going to sign off here. It's been a great show talking with you guys. It's pretty funny. We were talking freaking Adrian Peterson today. Who would have thought that? I never thought I'd wake up and talk Adrian Peterson again. But anyways, guys, thank you guys so much. Everybody who's tuned in, you guys are our best. Appreciate it as always. Keep tuning in to Vikings Now. See you guys next time. Peace.